have to play to win.
For the love of God and country.
Ignorance is bliss.
You can't take it with you.
Good night.
What's your emergency?
Welcome to Aspire. I want to talk to you a little bit about how we live on the inside of ourselves. So let me begin by asking you a question. How do you live from within yourself? Would you say that you live skeptically, guardedly, lovingly? You're an accepting kind of person? A moral person? Most people like to think of themselves as maybe all of those things. But you know, if you're guarded and you're skeptical, you're probably pretty moral. And life does not work on morals. Life is amoral. And I know a lot of you are going, oh my God, what's he saying? Well, just telling you my observation. I see life as amoral. It allows for many things: wars, poverty, violence, love, caring, compassion, sunrises, sunsets, volcanoes, fires. All sorts of things are going on in nature. It's all amoral. I'm not saying by saying it's amoral and not moral like you and I would probably like it to be, that it's not principled. Life has governing principles. And once we kind of move into those governing principles, then we don't need to have rules and regulations about how we should live. Most of us lived armed, willfully, with our sense of morality, our sense of rightness, our sense of skepticism, our fear, and our anger. And we willfully move out into this world trying to get everything we want based on the principles of our own willfulness. And hence, we miss all of this. Because here, where there is nothing to, so to speak, be moral about, there is a oneness, there's a principle, there's a harmony, a resonation here that far exceeds the rules of humankind. Since the dawn of humankind, we've needed commandments, the 10 commandments, and all of these things to keep us from killing each other. We have no sense of what it means to live unarmed. What do I mean by living unarmed? It's to take the path far less chosen in this life. It is to live, thy will be done. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And I will face it with compassion, not skepticism, not anger, not hostility, but maybe a merciful attitude. The alternative to living armed is to live unarmed in a merciful way, an open, caring, accepting way, doing everything you can to make love possible. I can't make love possible when I'm thinking all the time about what's right and what's wrong, like moral people like to live. They think if they know the rules and they can adhere to these rules or cling to these rules, that somehow they're more righteous than others. You meet them everywhere. They're the religious people of our community, of our world. And they have a lot to say about who's good and who's bad and who's right and who's wrong. But when you look at life, you see that life works on totally a different platform. It's about principled life, a life based in not survival, but in the nature of everything. Everything lives according to its own nature. You understand the nature of a given element like water, you understand what water can do. You understand the nature of a fish, you understand the fish isn't going to fly. You understand the nature of rocks, you understand how they can be used or where they are and what they are, their purpose. It is best to understand the nature of things rather than to try to be moral about the way things are. Life offers us a chance to live outside that box. And when I'm no longer as interested in my survival as I am in blending into the harmony of what this thing is called love and life, that is when I start to garner my energies. I start to be able to use my energies in ways I haven't been able to use them before. They can be focused and life-giving things. There will come a time when you and I are going to have to give up our life in the body. A lot of people have great difficulty with that. How that happens is how that happens. Sometimes it's through illness. sometimes through tragedies, accidents, murder, mayhem. You know, we all have our death to face in the way we need to face our death. And who is to say what is the right way and the wrong way, or the good way or the bad way, the just way or the unjust? It's really not important how we die. It's important how we live, and how we live defines how we will die. And our death is extremely important. It's as important as our life. And in a funny kind of way, it gives meaning to our life, because how I die shows me exactly what was going on inside of me all of my life. And maybe it's there to help me understand the nature of humanity, the nature of what it could do and what it couldn't do, how much power I gave it, and how much love I allowed in my life. When you're thinking about an examined life, this becomes one of the most essential things to look at. I'm in a beautiful marsh in Carmel, California, kind of around where I live a little bit. This is really beautiful. If you listen to the sound, if you are able to hear what goes on here, you'll begin to see what it means to live unarmed. Most of us live with a preconceived concept of what we call beauty, what we call right, what we call wrong, what we call good, what we call bad. And while we never think of it as being something that moves against us, in the bigger picture of life, it does. Because the hand that you'll feel around your throat eventually will be your own. It'll be the hand of what you thought was right, or what you thought was good, or what you even thought was moral. Life, as I say, is amoral. It doesn't have any morality to it. It is, though, principled. And I want you to understand that again and again and again inside of you, so you understand a life examined and what that means. It means that everything works according to its own nature. The birds, the ocean, the sand, the marsh, it all blends together as a whole, and it creates a life form all unto itself. Most of us, we move against this. We don't look at the bigger picture of what it means to live, maybe, shall we say, in the oneness of it all. We want to carve out our place for it, make it different than what it is. We like to think that we're making it better, but I'm not so sure we are. And I think if you look at the ecology of life, you'll see that that's true. It's all about energy, my dears, all about energy. Meditation is about energy. Life is about energy. Your chakras are about energy. Everything is about energy. And once you start to feel this energy and you start to flow with it without trying to fight it or contradict it in your beliefs or in your opinions, all of a sudden you start becoming one with the beauty. Now your eyes really open up and your ears really open up. And you can hear the subtle things that you never could hear before, because when the mind is filled with knowledge and thought and belief and opinion, it can only go down one road. Have you ever watched yourself with two thoughts simultaneously? It's very hard to do. You can have a thought about what you like and what you dislike, but I'm talking about really sitting down and having one thought take you in one direction and another thought take you in another. Which one do you choose? It all depends on the circumstance and what's in it for you. In a life that is examined, as Socrates talks about, we don't examine the worldly situation, we examine how we live with life. We are imposters, we're posers of life. We want to believe that this is life, this skin, and this face, and this hair. We want to believe that the stuff of life is the flesh. But masters have told us since day one that life is more than meat, the body more than raiment, that there's so much more going on here than what our senses can tell us. And yet no master can actually tell you what it's all about, because it's an experience you and I have to be willing to enter into on our own. And it means I have to live unarmed. It means I can't live fighting and cajoling my body, my mind, trying to maneuver my way around pain and make it all go away. I've got to open myself up to the whole body of life and let it live me, instead of me living it on the terms of my mind, my emotions, my fear, my anger, my dread. Most people can't do it. In fact, they won't. They get offended. They go, oh, I won't do that. I can't do that. No one can do that. It's impossible to do that. But it is possible. What is religion, philosophy, politics all about? But to hammer, hammer, hammer home. Fear, fear, fear. Logic, logic, logic. Reasoning, reasoning, reasoning. Every minister on Sunday mornings up there telling you can have a better life. What is a better life? Well, your body will be healed, or your money will be better, or your family will get along, or someone that you care about will come back into your life. It's all about the circumstances, not the condition. I need to look at the condition of my own condition inside. What is it about me? Not my Gregory stuff, but me that makes all this possible. Something's happening at a level I can't understand, especially when I live like a fist, arm to the hilt, trying to make you believe that I know more than you do, or that I'm better than you, or whatever. We go on and on and on with this in our life. We've caused wars, we've ruined our planet, we hurt each other. Worst of all, we hurt our kids, ourselves. It's a mess. And it doesn't go away because you want it to go away, or because you can take your little TV clicker and go like that and say, I've had enough of him today. It all depends on what's going on within your heart. And a life worth living is a heartfelt life.
When you go inward, you really get in touch with your true self. And it's scary sometimes because you don't know that person as well as you think you do. So I think that you can't say that I live fearlessly, because some days are more fearful than others. And when you can be aware of what's happening, and when fear does come up, you can deal with it much better because of your awareness increasing.
So how do we bring this all into focus? How can you live, so to speak, without the quote-unquote self-righteousness of morality, and still come into harmony with all of this and find peace within you, a peace that goes beyond your human understanding? This is all very simple stuff, believe it or not. It's all about let go. Most people are seeking to consume, hold, acquire, get, and yet life is a matter of living open-handedly, letting the wind and the moon and the stars come in and out of your life just as they need to. And let go allows me to be in a position where I'm no longer seeking to hold on to whatever it is that is my emotional opinion at the moment. People have very strong opinions about what they think is right. Their life is really nothing. I mean, if you look at the average person's life, what have they done? Nothing. They've made babies, raised a family, yada, 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 but that's it. What about the life that lives within you? What are we doing with it? That's never given any consideration. So you go to church on Sunday and you call it macaroni, you think you got it, all of your bases covered, and that's the totality of your life. You voted for the right person, you're at the right bank, you're cheap enough to keep yourself surviving, and you've got someone to rub your skin correctly. And that's about as far as people go in their life. They want the aggrandizement of their emotions to bring them a meaning in life that isn't there. It doesn't exist. And when you ask people to question the way they live, they get hostile, they get mean, they get angry. Believe me, I know, I get the emails. But for those of you who are beyond the idea maybe of that kind of hostility, where you're not really interested in that kind of stuff, and you want a life worth living, maybe it would be wonderful, through the practice of meditation, of resonating with meditation and silence, to find that place, that sweet spot in you, where all of life comes together. And there's many places in you where all of life comes together. The heart is one of them, the root chakra, the crown chakra, the third eye. There's so many places where this can enter into you. And if I am living, let's say, for a life worth living, I'm not living to try to make all this fit around my mind, wrap it around my thinking. Rather, I'm undoing my thinking that I might be free enough to have this experience beyond my thoughts. Has anything so incredible ever touched your life that no words and no thoughts could give it justice. I'm sure that's happened to you somewhere. Where did you put all that? What did you stack it up against? What did you say happened in all of that? I'll bet you probably looked at it and said, oh, it was one of those moments. Who knows where it happened, where it came from, and where it goes to. People do that all the time. That was your heart. And it was bringing things together because you unconsciously or maybe consciously let things go. I was working with a counselee just a few weeks ago, and we were talking about a car accident that she had gotten into a few months ago. And she said to me, you know, it was the best thing that ever happened. She said, I've been sitting here for a few months working with you in meditation and nothing's been happening. All of a sudden I get in this car accident, she said, and I start to see exactly what you meant. Everything slowed down, and in one moment, she said, my mind dropped and everything that was beautiful was happening to me. And she said, I knew everything was beautiful. Of course, she walked out of the accident, but the thing that was most interesting, as she said in session, I needed the accident to help me understand what you meant by letting go of my thoughts. Now she has a little taste of it. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and get in an accident, so don't get me wrong there. You can do it through meditation if you're willing to practice some discipline to not allow your thoughts to run you around, dictate to you the quality of your life and who you are. I think when Socrates said that a life unexamined is not worth living, that's what he was talking about. What thought could you possibly have, or I, that would add quality to our life? Our thoughts are about fear, the fear of our survival, which has nothing to do with the meaning of our life. How sad. And yet we'll stay with that for the rest of our life because we think our survival is more important than the meaning of our life. That our survival, how long we live, how well we live, is more important than the meaning of our life. There isn't one of you, not one of you, who is watching me at this point who doesn't have a meaning in their life that has yet to be exposed to your living. I hope that you will take some time this week to consider something bigger and greater than your own beliefs and find that life worth living. Well, a life lived unarmed. What does that mean? Most of us are armed to the hilt. We wouldn't let anything in and we let very little out. And what we try to do is control our whole life by getting what it is we believe we want over the things that we don't want. Living armed really makes me a shallow person. I hope in some way this program was helpful to you. You kind of look at your life a little differently, examined. How do you look at your life examined, as Socrates says? Without judgment, but beginning to see exactly the pattern of how you build your life around everything you're afraid of. Ooh. I know people that are running from their fears constantly, day in, day out. They'll bungee jump, they'll jump out of airplanes, they want to climb the highest mountain, they want to be 60 years old and look like a 20-year-old. And they think that's going to make them happy and that they've conquered their humanity, but you haven't. It's just one more defense mechanism, one more way of trying to prove that the mind is greater than what? Your body? They're connected, and it doesn't really matter. Here's what matters. How forgiving, how loving, how compassionate, how giving can I be beyond my logic and my reasoning? All the things that I'm afraid to face in my life. That's the living, the real living that is meaningful. People are interesting. They want more than what they're willing to give. It never works in this life. It just never works. And yet people base their whole life on it. I am very grateful you took the time to watch Aspire. I hope in some way these programs are of help to you. I try to offer you the alternative to conventional thinking, conventional belief, and conventional religion. I hope in some way, like I say, something has clicked with you. We'll see you next time. Please forgive my many words. Namaste. Hey, Master Dow. It's my birthday. What'd you get me this year? I got you the gift of nothing. Nothing? What do you mean nothing? Nothing. You know, I think you're a pretty thoughtless dude for a guru. You're welcome. I almost fell into the Wawa, sacrificing once again my carnal body for the sake of humanity in the cold depths of the ocean, which would have been the second time I've done that for Aspire. What?
A rock doesn't act like a bird?
No.
Come on.
Oh, the stick.
The stick. Great, Skylar.
All right, now we're there.
Now we're gonna get
Never let that stick out of your sight. I'm ready to rock and roll. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Is a life worth living? I pulled that out of the fire, put it into the fire, and cooked it. And it was a s'more. You want a s'more? S'more. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Ow. Never had a lesson. As soon as this Aspire gig's up, going into the singing thing. Going to Vegas. You want to come and be one of my...
Aspire, higher and higher.
Hey!
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Rogue wave, rogue wave.
There's incoming!
Rogue wave.
Rogue wave! Rogue wave!
Scary.
It is scary.